So the good market or positive returns, and it's not ever a reduction of what the churches contribute. It is only to benefit the beneficiaries of the plan.
Yeah. So
That is not typical of the real world, but that's okay. I get it.
okay.
I mean, I understand.
In
it's
good
not the
days,
real
yeah,
world.
you maybe pay not, rather than pay 12% into your pension, we'll pay only 6%. And we are operating in a world where there are fewer and fewer defined pension programs out there. Most have moved to the, not most, but many have moved to the 401ks and what have you, where companies are no longer providing a defined pension. They will define the contributions, and you get your pension according to your contributions. What we're saying is we're defining the benefit. It's based on contributions in, but that benefit's going to stay steady. So it is a huge benefit. And the 12%, Keith, I can see where you're coming from and say, well, why don't we reduce that percent? And that's been asked of the board in this year. The one question was, can we reduce the percent that we're paying into pension to pay for the increase of the health costs? Well, we can. We can't mix and commingle. We can't commingle those funds, and we're not going to get into that issue. The other good news is that the 12%, 11 plus 1, has been the figure for pensions basically since day one. So it has not gone up, ever.
Kevin, one of the things I was going to observe too is that because of the way it's built or defined that way, it really benefits pastors who spent their whole ministry, like my dad, in small churches and never made a lot of money. Now in retirement, he doesn't have to worry so much, even though he didn't have huge contributions into the plan. So, not everybody gets a chance to serve in CPC or a second or even a Noblesville, where things are healthier. And some of our folks spend their whole ministry, 40 years plus, in places like Winchester or Portland. Yeah, or Portland, or just really.
I get it. I mean, I'm
It's
just
just an observation.
Yeah, it's not the real world,
Yeah.
and my wife points that out several times to me. But it is the church, and it was one of the things the church committed to doing a long time ago, I guess, is to make sure that all the servants of the church were taken care of in their retirement.
So, but questions that you have that are more important for me to try to answer or explain?
I want to be sure I understood this call to health initiative.
Yeah.
In 2015, the preventive exam, your basic exam, is required, and then you choose 2 of these 5. Is that how that is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You must complete both of the following actions. The preventative exam or well-woman exam. That's a must. In connection with that, there may be, if you have a chronic health condition, you're probably already, that person is already being talked to by Active Health.
Right.
So if Active Health call you to try to monitor how you're doing, if someone has diabetes, they're probably going to have a phone call 2 to 3 times a year from Active Health as a kind of nurse coach. You've got to participate in those. If they say, we need you to call us in a month and you don't, that'll be recorded that they're not taking action. And then 2 of the following. I know in your church, Susan, a lot of people who, the Credo conference is not an issue. If it's lay staff, they don't get invited to Credo. Okay, so that's not one of the options. But 2 of the remaining have to be done. And other than the health exam, which is $25, all the others are preventative and are at no cost to the member anyway. So we're not asking the member to spend any money to get this done.
What if you just went to Credo I just went there in November last year, 2012. It said 13 or 14.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
But there's a lot of options. I
I'm
mean,
a year off.
yeah, no, but that's okay. That's okay. I think, once you say to everyone around the table, as we have tried to say when we meet church members who are up in arms about the change of contributions, is that we've been trying to say, well, have you talked to your finance committee or your session? Who around that table is paying nothing toward their health care? I mean, it's a great plan. The change is to pay a very, very little, and the little, at the very most, for those on the maximum salary in the church, and only 1% are on that maximum salary. It's only about 100 locations where there's a salary in excess of 124,000. Even in that situation, the cost for dependent coverage is coming in at less than 2,000 a year. Someone based on the minimum, the 42,000, it's more like 850 or thereabouts change a year, not a month, a year.
Do you know what the average salary is across the plan?
Well, the median salary is 54.
Okay. So it's 23% of 54 is kind of what's...
Yeah, that's normal. And what we're saying is, and what Alan was saying is that some pastors who serve churches that cannot pay large salaries or do not pay large salaries, if their salary and their benefit package, their effective salary and housing and all of that is less than, well, it doesn't really matter the churches, their pension accrues as if they were on the median. Their pension credits. So I'm only earning 42,000. The church is paying dues on that, and they're paying pension contributions. But from the pool, my pension credits are going to increase as if I were on the median. So I won't get penalized long term with a very, very small pension. It's a sense of community. We're in this together. So there are, and this is a sad situation, but it's a reality, there are some pastors who retire and receive a larger pension than their last salary. We ought not to be,
retirement.
we ought not to be proud of that, but because they've lived all those expensive years on a very small salary, and they've incurred probably a lot of debt along the way. But now that they've retired, if they've made it, they're going to get a better pension than their last salary.
So on the other side though, if a person making 42,000 is accruing credits at the median rate, a person who is above the median, are they accruing at the same rate as the person with 42?
No, they're accruing at what their church is
That's
paying.
helping pay for the one who's making 42,000.
It's just the money coming in.
The whole pool.
Everyone, the whole pool, and the investments. We're sharing out the wealth of the investments to make sure that we're bringing up pensions. If you're earning 100,000 as a pastor in that position, you're earning your credits for your pension on 100,000. It's not being taken away from you.
We're helping assist
bringing
pulling
up.
some up, but we're not pulling anybody down.
Correct.
That's what I
And
thought.
so I've heard it argued, or not argued, but commented at some Presbytery meetings by some smaller salary pastors saying, heck, we don't care. Just keep paying those big churches more and more and more. That's fine, because eventually the median is going to go up, and the median will help us long term. So that's a positive way of viewing it, rather than, oh, he's going to earn more than me. So, but questions, Susan?
Well, I don't think there's any help here in these changes if you're for part-time ordained persons, because we are still charged at the median salary. We may be paying them if they're only working 20 hours.
Yeah.
And I wish we could find a way to make a part-time person a little bit more affordable.
Yeah, because the part-time person is charged at the 40,000 level. Their dues are based on 40,000, and they will be at 42. So it makes the part-time more expensive to the church.
You know, it's interesting, I argued that at my company, because I wanted to hire part-time people. And they basically said to me, look at, the rent is the same. The cost of running the payroll is the same. The cost of doing it, I said, oh, what is different for them? So I was paying somebody $25,000 a year, and my overhead cost allocation of the company was 50. I'm going, you can't have part-time people, and they went,
That's right.
and it's really sad, and then I started pushing back on the CFO, as managers do, right? He was the CFO. Anyway, and I started putting, that's when I'm going, you can't have part-time people. It makes absolutely no economic sense to have part-time employees, and it's quite sad.
And in this system, it costs more.
That's right. I mean, and you can't really avoid it under a near socialistic system like this has been created, which is cool for the ministry staff, but it doesn't work in the reality of, we'd love to hire some part-timers to help us out. Could you help us out with that? You can't, it's really sad.
Well, it's sad, it's reality in that to provide someone not just a salary, but benefits. It's the benefit costs. Well, we know it, you can't have half-time benefits, you know, you're only covered if you're sick Monday through Wednesday, and the rest of the week. We carry, that's the big cost, and that's where it comes into play. You could have staff that aren't part of the plan, and just pay them contractually.
Not if they're ordained.
Well, no, ordained, okay, I know. Well, only if they're in a called position, because an ordained position, they can be something else. It's not a mandated position.
Who's the administrator of your plan? I mean, what company?
We are.
You self-administer?
Uh-huh. We use Highmark, Blue Cross, Blue Shield as our vendor,
That's
but we are self-insured.
correct, that's what I meant.
We're self-insured.
And then you have stop losses at.
We don't.
You don't have stop loss.
We don't, it's not.
At your size, it's probably not.
It's not cost effective. If we're self-insuring anyway, to buy more insurance for stop losses defeats our policy. So we just carry all the costs.
How are the affiliate members affected?
Affiliate member is not affected at all, no change.
No change.
If you've got, apart from the call to health.
This year.
Apart from call to health.
Right, good.
There's no increase in costs anywhere to the affiliate banner. The change happens from $8 to $10. The co-pays are still the same everywhere, but the health costs remain the same to the affiliate benefit member. The drug costs and the deductible levels are just similar to what. No change. And no change in the premium. You're asking about premium.
It's the same.
Staffs are affiliated.
Lay staff are often
Not on that,
affiliated.
it's on the affiliate.
So they're not going to receive a higher rate based on theirs. How are they?
They will receive the change in the deductible level. But the
But not
premium,
the
the
premium.
overall premium cost is going to stay the same.
Is
It's not
that a
increasing.
percentage or is it a dollar amount?
It's a dollar amount.
It's a premium.
It's a dollar. And I think if it's just a member on the affiliate benefit with no dependent coverage, that member is being charged, I think, is about $634 or $35 a month.
Sounds about right.
And the church, if you're on the affiliate program, the church is only required to pay 50% of that. They can pay more, and many churches do pay more. But for Kevin's ears, the affiliate benefit plan is where there is more contribution from the member. So, but those are set figures, set premiums, and they're not changing.
How do those not change when, not to against you all, I dearly love all of you, but how they justify the regular ordained members going up when the
Yeah.
affiliate members
That's a good question.
don't? I just, out of curiosity.
I don't know.
Because everybody else in the free markets is going up, and, you know,
My
They-
guess is the average cost of the average age of the ordained staff is up.
It's older.
So for example, at my firm, everybody's older than dirt. So our 250 employees are really, really expensive compared to ABC's company, who's everybody's 32 years old. But the average age of the pastor staff is going up, the average age of financial advisors is going up. There's just some industries, whereas if we were IT and everybody was young,
Be cheap.
the cost is really cheap. It's just really
And that
interesting. They
is-
come in
that's-
and they look at your group and they go, wow,
Those
they're
are-
all older than
yeah.
dirt, you're getting hip replacements.
Right.
Those are actuarial kind of.
It's just a
decisions,
killer.
And that's
And the
probably-
staff is cheap and the ministers are old. And you could say it nicer, but I think
That's basically it. If you think of our churches and our staffs, we are much, much older. You asked about median salary, and we said it was 54. The average, what's the average membership of a Presbyterian church, USA? It's 87
I was
members.
going to say
Oh.
90. I was going to say
87 members is your average. Of course, averages don't tell you a lot because you can have, but that's where we are. All across the nation, we are a denomination. And I love this expression of small membership churches. We're not small churches. Every church has got the full gospel. Every church is proclaiming the full goodness of God's grace. So we're all big churches with the biggest vision and hope we can imagine. But we just have some churches that are larger membership churches and some that are small membership churches. So let's get away from small church, big church. We're all big church.
I don't believe in luck, but good luck on that one.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to rethink and
I think it's more
recalibrate their way
for
of
those
thought.
of us who have always worked in large membership churches. I think it's, and I have always done that. It's important for us to remember that we mustn't dismiss small membership churches. We do. Susan, see you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
good to meet you.
Any other questions? I mean, this is maybe telling you what you already knew. I'm sorry if it has.
I'm a rookie on this kind of stuff, so I'm learning a lot.
Are there any suggestions that we could make to our staffs to help reduce costs that you would offer?
Reduce costs?
Yeah.
Church costs or individual costs? I'm not sure what you mean, to reduce salary costs?
No, to reduce medical plan costs.
We would encourage them to be proactive in their health. We know it, it's analyzed, it's a statistic that if you are proactive and take care of your health, it'll cost your company less long term, and it'll cost yourself less, and you'll have better health. So we encourage your staff who are in the plan, exercise all that the plan throws at them. The annual physicals, the preventatives, all those things, to be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. That will reduce costs long term.
Calisthenics.
Well,
I don't know if that's the question.
Well, for instance, I came out of a pretty good sized company. We had like 3,200 employees and we were self-insured and so forth.
Mhm.
But we found, for instance, that a lot of people, rather than going to a doctor or going to a certain place, would go use an emergency room, which cost was
Oh,
just,
yeah.
okay. So we put incentives, or actually in the program, where deductibles on emergency room care would be much greater, okay? Those types of,
Yeah. It's carrot and stick. How much of the carrot do you use and how much of the stick do you
Mhm.
use? And we're trying to say to people, stay in network, look at your plan, learn the plan, and I, as the board representative, am ready to come to churches as I'm doing it, Fairview and at Second tomorrow, meeting with their staff, who are all on the affiliate benefit plan, to remind them what that plan gives them. I can come to churches and tell your staff, or several churches together, get all the staff together and go over their plan to realize what's in it, which will be cost saving to them. They must know that they ought to be in network rather than out of network. They ought to know that if they're going to get something done, to get pre-authorization. We ought to encourage them to use their maintenance drugs on mail order and not 30-day fill-ups. Those are small, but they make a huge difference. Try and be proactive in one's own health will reduce the cost. We're saying, here's a plan that if you are part of it, you'll get a small decrease in your deductible, so there's a saving. A little saving, but the bigger saving is the fact that you've gone for your annual and they've found something or they've discovered something that they can treat now rather than 5 years down the road when it's caused a lot more damage or problems to you and it's become more expensive to fix. So those are just some of the things. We know that congregations and church treasurers are wrestling with this. We ask churches to make sure, and you're on session, so I'm saying it to you because you'll hear it, to make sure your church reports changes of salary in a due fashion every December or January. Once you've had your congregational meeting and you've decided your salaries going forward for the next year, make sure it gets reported to the Board of Pensions. If it's not reported, the pastor continues just to earn credits on the old salary. We have found churches that have just not filled it in. Church treasurers change, and if you're dealing with small membership churches, you might be dealing with a different treasurer every second year. They don't know. It's not because they've neglected to do it knowingly. They've not been aware, and so a minister's salary is not often, sometimes never reported as change. And they're continuing only to earn credits at their old salary level. That can only be fixed for 1 year. If it goes back further, it's too late. So report on time, report accurately. We're not accusing a church of not reporting because if they report an increase, it's going to be an increase in their dues. But sometimes that happens. So, I'm your regional rep. If I can be of any help or assistance, just call the 1-800 number and my extension's there, or my phone number. You can get it on the website. I can give you cards today, or speak to Alan. How do I get hold of the rep? And we can move forward.
And like Edward was saying, if you wanted to have him or somebody else from the Board of Pensions, if you weren't available, come out and do something with your staff.
Yeah.
That's some of what they do, they can walk them through some of this as well. Obviously, you can report back to them, but sometimes it's helpful just...
And that might be a good idea.
Yeah, well, we can, if it's a decent-sized staff, I mean, it's expensive to come out, so we would want to come out and do it. If there's a good turnout and maybe 2 or 3 churches can get together, I can come and do it. We're happy to do that. The thing that we are pushing, encouraging, is the 403B, the savings plan. There's no incentive to us to promote it. There's no commissions. We're far from that world. But what we're saying is that pastors, church workers need to be aware that if they're not saving toward pension, then that part of that 3-legged stool is missing. Social Security, the pension which is defined, and the third part would be their own savings, retirement savings plan. The church operates through Fidelity, a wonderful plan giving a member lots of options at very little cost. It's a $15 cost per year administratively. to Fidelity. And also, of course, it's pre-tax savings, so it reduces their tax bill. So we're encouraging churches to promote, to make it be, anyone who in your church gets a W-2 is entitled to take benefit of the package that Fidelity have put together with the church as a retirement savings plan. If you've got a secretary that only works four hours a week, but gets issued with a W-2, then they can be part of the savings
So they can
plan.
be also.
Yeah, they don't have to be in the health benefit plan, they don't, just if they're employed by your church.
Yeah, this is completely separate, and, they can make whatever size contribution.
Yeah. And churches can do all that mixing and matching. If a church matches money to its salary, to its, maybe its pastors and others, the money that it matches comes out of the dues level. So you reduce what you're paying in dues because you're paying a matching program to 403. So there's a little saving. That's easy to say quickly, harder to explain. But basically there are savings to the church if it's paying,
The dues to the Presbytery.
uh,
So let's
not
say,
to the board of pension.
all right,
The dues are a little bit reduced because the money that you're paying, matching a pastor's contribution, comes off the due that you're paying. So it's better for you to do it and offer it. You have to be a bit creative in setting it all up, but the board of pensions will help you do that.
we need to pursue that one.
So that's a 403B, and that's a way to incentivize your workers.
That was worth your coming, wasn't it?
And I can give you more details of the,
That's what I do for a living.
403s and
Well,
401s.
retirement plans, but, that's, so I'm going, yeah, I'll be doing it,
Mhm.
So if we can match 3% and save
3%, yeah.
3% on.
Well, what you're doing, you're paying it into the, instead of giving it to the board of pensions, you're giving it to your pastor, basically.
Oh, I'm good with that.
Speaking, Kevin, do you know if ZPC has applied for and I'm not sure I'm going to get the name right, but it's a small business healthcare credit.
Can't tell you.
Check into that and then call here, and that's kind of separate from this issue, but it's something that also provides the savings, because that's available in relation to the government. Like the Presbytery staff is considered a small business, and because we pay in healthcare costs, we get a credit back, and that is benefited second. It can amount to a few $1,000s back into your budget. I mean, it's not huge. I think we get like 3,400 back because of that, but 3,400 is 3,400 back to your budget. So
And it's small business,
I think call
what's it called again?
small business healthcare credit. I think our finance guys can actually tell you a little more, but Eric
Okay.
Kurtzon. So just call him or email him and ask him if he knows how to go about pursuing that. Steve.